Once upon a time, a very poor woodcutter lived in a tiny cottage in the forest with his two children, Hansel and Gretel. His second wife often ill-treated the children and was forever nagging the woodcutter. "There is not enough food in the house for all of us. There are too many mouths to feed. We must get rid of those two brats," she declared, and she kept on trying to persuade her husband to abandon his children in the forest. "Take them miles from home, so far that they can never find their way back. Maybe someone will find them and give them a home." The downcast woodcutter did not know what to do. Hansel, who one evening had overheard his parents' conversation, comforted Gretel. "Don't worry, if they leave us in the forest, we'll find the way home," he said, and slipping out of the house, he filled his pockets with little white pebbles, then went back to bed. All night long, the woodcutter's wife harped on and on at her husband, till at dawn he led Hansel and Gretel away into the forest. But as they went into the depths of the forest trees, Hansel dropped a little white pebble here and there on the mossy green ground. At a certain point, the two children found they were really alone. The woodcutter had plucked them enough courage to desert them, had mumbled an excuse, and was gone. Night fell, but the woodcutter did not return. Gretel began to sob bitterly. Hansel, too, felt scared, but he tried to hide his feelings and comfort his sister. "Don't cry. Trust me. I swear I'll take you home even if Father doesn't come back for us." Luckily the moon was full that night, and Hansel waited till it was cold light flitted through the trees. "Now give me your hand," he said. "We'll get home safely, you'll see." The tiny white pebbles gleamed in the moonlight, and the children found their way home. They crept through a half-open window without wakening their parents. Cold, tired, but thankful to be home again, they slipped into bed. The next day, when their stepmother discovered that Hansel and Gretel had returned, she went into a rage, stifling her anger in front of the children. She locked her bedroom door, reproaching her husband for failing to carry out the orders. The weak woodcutter protested, torn as he was between shame and fear of disobeying his cruel wife. The wicked stepmother kept Hansel and Gretel under lock and key all day with nothing for supper but a sip of water and some hard bread. All night her husband and wife quarrelled, and when dawn came, the woodcutter led the children out into the forest. Hansel, however, had not eaten his bread, and as he walked through the trees, he left a trail of crumbs behind him to mark the way. But the little boy had forgotten about the hungry birds that lived in the forest. When they saw him, they flew along behind, and in no time at all had eaten all the crumbs again. With a lame excuse, the woodcutter left his two children by themselves. "I left a trail like last time," Hansel whispered to Gretel concerningly. But when night fell, they saw to their horror that the crumbs had gone. "I'm frightened," wept Gretel bitterly. "I'm cold and hungry, and I want to go home." "Don't be afraid. I'm here to look after you," Hansel tried to encourage his sister. But he too shivered when he glimpsed frightening shadows and evil eyes around them in the darkness. All night the two children huddled together for warmth at the foot of a large tree. When dawn broke, they started to wander around the forest, seeking a path, but all hope soon failed. They were well and truly lost. On they walked and walked, till suddenly they came upon a strange cottage in the middle of the glade. "This is chocolate," gasped Hansel, as he broke a lump of plaster from the wall. "And this is icing," exclaimed Gretel, putting another piece of the wall in her mouth. Starving but delighted, the children began to eat pieces of candy broken off the cottage. "Isn't this delicious?" said Gretel, with her mouth full. She had never tasted anything so nice. We'll stay here, Hansel declared, munching a bit of nugget. They were just about to try a piece of the biscuit door when it quietly swung open. Well, well, said an old woman, peering out with a crafty look. And haven't you children a sweet tooth? Come in, come in. You've nothing to fear, went on the old woman. Unluckily for Hansel and Gretel, however, the sugar candy cottage belonged to an old witch. Her trap for catching unwary victims. The two children had come to a real nasty place. You're nothing but skin and bones, said the witch, locking Hansel into a cage. I shall fatten you up and eat you. You can do the housework, she told Gretel grimly. Then I'll make a meal of you too. As luck would have it, the witch had a very bad eyesight, and when Gretel smeared butter on her glasses, she could see even less. Let me feel your finger, said the witch to Hansel every day, to check if he was getting any fatter now. Gretel had brought her brother a chicken bone, and when the witch went to touch his finger, Hansel held out the bone. You're still much too thin, she complained. When will you become plump? One day, the witch grew tired of waiting. The children always held out the chicken bone to the witch, so after one whole year, the witch let them go. They were happy to be let go, but the witch was not happy to let them go. In fact, she was angry and frustrated because she didn't have any children to grow and eat. But meanwhile, in the woods, Hansel and Gretel were looking for someone to help them to find a place to call home. So they kept on looking and looking until they came upon a little person. They said hello and asked him his name. He said, my name is Frederick. And they said, well, we're Hansel and Gretel. Would you like to look with us? Yes, sure, I would, he said. They looked and looked and looked. Then after they had looked for a really long time, they came upon a tiny little cottage. It was lovely. It had flowers in it and all around it. The children liked it lots. The children went inside to have a look. They really liked the little house. They thought it was a nice, cosy, warm little cottage. There was no one in the little house. So the children went outside through the tiny little door, and they saw a little old lady coming towards them. The old lady said, what are you doing in my home? They answered her by saying, sorry, we didn't know this was your house. But it's very nice, they said. We like it heaps. We were looking inside because we need to find a home because our father dumped us in the woods and we don't know our way back. You poor little children. I wish you could come and live with me, but you can't because I don't have any room in my house. But, you know, somewhere where you can live. In that house just down the road, it's an empty house because no one lives there anymore because she moved out. The nice little old lady took Hansel and Gretel to the empty house. It was a bit spooky to Hansel because it was all bare inside. They all set up beds in the house. Their house was all just mattresses and sheets. The children were warm for the night. There was a thunderstorm and lightning that night. In the morning, when they woke up, it was all wet outside and none of the children thought it would be a good day to go outside. So they stayed inside, happy and away from the witch.